But when you ask her for a cup of coffee, she's going to give you attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to accept that shit. You're going to sit there and go, oh, well, she's had a long day. I don't give a how long your day is.
You're living inside of your mind. You're obsessed with how you feel. You don't care about anything outside of yourself, and you're an exceptionally selfish person. That's all they're trying to do is convince you and teach you to be extremely selfish. Let me tell you something. Depression is not real. Feeling depressed is real. So you can feel depressed, but you feel depressed, and that is a natural biological evolutionary trigger for you to change something in your life. That's your own mind telling you you're unhappy about X.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, like, for example, if I'm working towards a goal or don't feel like I'm putting enough work towards it or achieving it, there's a level of depression that could set in, but it doesn't mean I'm depressed. Like, certain things going on with your life, if you're not happy with, yes, they can lead to certain feelings of maybe depression or sadness or even anger. But I think those are triggers that should motivate you to actually figure out what it is that you need to do and actually do it. So I think what he says as far as like biological triggers, these feelings and emotions are basically for us to get better and climb out of a rut or whatever situation we're in. But I think the problem is if people don't take action, they just spiral down and become more depressed, more sad, more angry, more upset. And they honestly probably is a big reason why there's so many haters in the world, because they see other people achieving success that they wish they had. And that's probably a big part of it. So what he says here actually makes a lot of sense.
If I went to jail today, I'd be depressed because I'm in jail. Right. I haven't caught depression. I don't have a disease. I'm just upset with my situation.
Yep.
I have people mess with me all the time. I'm fat and I can't get a girlfriend because I'm depressed. I'm like, no, pancake lover. You're depressed because you're fat and you can't get a girlfriend. Do you understand?
Yeah.
No matter.
Yeah, that's a big difference, man. Speaking of pancakes, I haven't had pancakes forever. But I think it is important to realize, again, this is how you avoid that like victim mentality. You got to put control in your own hands, or at least the illusion of power, which actually you do have a lot more power than you realize. Most people do, because they could get themselves out of a certain situation. So for example, I guess don't eat the pancakes. Even though they're good, maybe eat them once a month. Have a protein shake. Get to the gym. You'll release powerful endorphins to make you feel happier, probably pull you out of that depression. You'll get a better looking body, and you'll probably have the confidence to get the girl. Like, the most attractive quality, in my opinion, is actually confidence. So, as much as I don't really care for the body positivity movement, I think they're looking for excuses and want people to accept them for who they are. Like, that's fine. But if they're truly confident and they're not lying to themselves, then that is actually attractive. I don't think they're sincere, though, because they're going out of their way, almost like forcing you to love their otherwise disgusting bodies.
No matter what the worst thing that could possibly happen to me on earth, I will feel sad, but I will recover and I will not become depressed because I don't believe in depression. If you're in an old haunted house, right? You have two people in two haunted houses. One believes in ghosts and one doesn't. You hear some noise in the night. The wind blows, right? The man who believes in ghosts is like, oh no, a ghost. Now he's scared, right? He wants an exorcist. He can't sleep. He's scared about ghosts. He's paranoid. The guy who doesn't believe in ghosts goes wind, whatever, and goes back to sleep. Do you understand that it's the belief that gives it power?
Right.
If you don't believe in ghosts, the ghost can't hurt you. If you don't believe in depression, you can't become depressed.
Well, see, now that part I actually disagree with, because even if you don't believe in ghosts, it doesn't mean they're not real. It doesn't mean they can't hurt you. Like, I'm open to ghosts. If I was in a haunted house, I'm not going to assume it's a ghost. That'll be like a last resort. After I determine it's not the wind, it's not someone playing a prank, it's not this, it's not that. And then, like, the last possibility would be like, well, maybe it's a ghost. But just because I believe or don't believe, it doesn't mean it can or can't hurt me. So, for example, if you don't believe a semi-truck can hurt you if it runs you over and you're standing in the middle of the street, it doesn't mean it's not going to hurt you. You'll still get hurt. It's just a reality. So I don't agree with him on this point.
And I refuse to believe in something that's going to weaken me. Why would I believe in something that's going to weaken my ability to deal with problems in life? Why would I do that? I'm temporarily immortal.
I mean, I like where he's going with this as far as the mindset, but the reality is I don't really like the example he used with ghosts and haunted houses. Like, if you don't believe in aliens, then you don't think you could get abducted. I think you could get abducted by aliens. It's probably very rare. I don't doubt there's some people have got abducted by aliens. So if I didn't believe in aliens, it doesn't mean I'm immune to alien abduction. That can still actually happen.
Do you understand? Do you understand? Yeah. I'm temporarily immortal, and I'm not going to waste my living years believing in things which take power from me. Because I'm not an idiot.
Real men cry, and if women can cry, men can cry too. There's nothing wrong with it. And there absolutely is something wrong with it, and I'll explain to you why. Life as a man is far more difficult than life as a woman. And one of the key components of manhood always has been and always will be, we have the ability to control ourselves and not act emotionally. Females are more emotionally driven, more emotionally impulsive than a good man should be. Saying that I felt like crying so I cried, this makes me a real man, is as stupid as me saying, well, I felt like smashing his face in, so I smashed his face in.
Yeah, that's actually true. Like, nobody wants to see somebody cry. Like, you don't want to see a woman cry, you don't want to see a child cry, and it's pretty damn pathetic to see a man cry. So even though we can't, like, necessarily repress these emotions, or we could maybe try to repress the emotions are there. It's how you express them, basically, is what matters. And as a guy, I don't think you should express that, especially in public. Now, there are certain instances, for example, like in Rocky 3 when Mick died and he just lost the title and all that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a grown man crying if he goes through something like that. But in general, you should definitely not show that kind of like pathetic weakness, in my opinion. So I grew up in the 80s and 90s, right? Like guys don't really cry unless it's an extreme circumstance, you know, maybe losing a family member, etc. But just in general, there are fundamental differences. Women are more emotional. It's a fact, whether people want to admit that or not. And I've even gotten in discussions or arguments or whatever you want to call it in college trying to explain the fundamental differences between men and women. And I was always like labeled as sexist. I'm just like, I'm a realist. I live in reality. But anyway, that didn't go over too well with a lot of the women and even the professors, right? I took a couple like women's studies and film classes, for example, and they were always like berating Rambo and those kind of movies. And I was, of course, defending them then just as I do now on this channel. Those are amazing films.
This makes me a real man. No, the hallmark of a real man is controlling himself, controlling his emotions, and acting appropriately regardless of how he feels. And throughout human history, this is exactly how men had to live their lives.
He makes a great point. Like, I guarantee you this guy must have read the 48 Laws of Power. Like, for example, like in the book, it even says you cannot repress anger or love or avoid feeling them, and you should not try, but you should be careful about how you express them. And most important, they should never influence your plans and strategies in any way. He basically said the exact same thing, and that's actually pretty good advice.
Do you think that the teenagers storming the beaches of Normandy felt like crying? Of course they did. But they also knew that that wasn't the correct thing for them to do. They had a duty to commit to, they had an honor, and they did what they were supposed to do regardless of how they felt. That is the mark of a man. Weakness and absolute submission to your feelings are not the hallmarks of men. It's not the way society has ever been built. It's never been built off the backs of men who were crying their eyes out because they felt like crying. The only kind of men who advocate crying are the kind of men who do not have enough self-control to prevent themselves from crying. Because we're all human. There's times in your life, as a man, you're going to feel like crying. It's going to happen. But what you're supposed to do is not cry. Because this is a test in mental fortitude. And there is no physical fortitude, there's no financial fortitude, there's no other type of fortitude without mental fortitude. So when you feel like crying, you ensure you do not cry. And you act appropriately as a man should. The men who say no, succumb instantly to your emotions, are the kind of people who have no self-control. And let me tell you something about men who have no self-control. Men who live without self-control are the kind of men who cry when their girlfriend cheats on them, because she certainly does, because she doesn't respect the little crybaby, and she's only with you because she's ugly as fuck and she has to settle for a little soy boy pussy like you. And these guys sitting there, what they're trying to do by telling you to cry is drag you down to their level. They look at people like me, and I say, Ross, that's a big G. He's out there, he's fucking women, he's got his Lambo, he's a multimillionaire, self-made, 6'4", 4-time kickboxing world champion, chess genius. I don't like the way he's living his life because he's kicking too much ass. You need to cry more. He's trying to drag me down to his level so I can be a little crybaby like him. And he wants everyone else who reads his tweets to be a crybaby too, because the more little weaklings he can create, the less bad he'll feel about himself. No man wants to be a little crybaby if they're honest with themselves, and no woman certainly wants to fuck a little crybaby. So don't listen to the advice of people who are living lives you wouldn't want to live. What's actually interesting is, I always use this analogy. If you could build yourself from the ground up, if you could literally just, like from a video game, just tick characteristic boxes and build yourself, nobody would choose to be a liberal soy boy. Nobody would choose to be a small, weak guy who has to cry when he gets upset. Everyone, when they get that application form from God saying build yourself for your next life, would tick tall, strong, smart, mentally tough, doesn't cry, gets pussy, rich. They tick all the things they tell me I'm bad, all the assets I have, everything that I am, they tell me is bad. But if they had the choice to have these things instantly, they would sign up. And the reason they don't have these things is because all of these things come with hard work. To be physically strong, you have to work out. That's difficult. To be financially independent, you have to be smart. That's difficult. So they don't have these things because they're hard for them to acquire, but they're very easy for them to acquire. They'd have them all. Nobody wants to be a crybaby. The mark of being a real man is not being a crybaby. The mark of a real man is walking down the street, 5 guys with knives coming up to try and rape your girlfriend, and you look at them in the face and saying, fuck you. It's not crumbling into a ball, crying your eyes out and say, I have emotions too.
That is amazing. And that's why we love a lot of these movies, by the way, right? Like, take Steven Seagal, for example, in Hard to Kill, when those guys are, going to rob the liquor store. It's like, what guy doesn't want to basically beat the shit out of all those guys? Like, Seagal could have just left. I mean, granted, the clerk, cashier dude did end up getting killed. They didn't, save the guy or anything. Seagal could have just left, man. But, and you probably should in real life. Why fight 5 guys, especially when one has a shotgun, unless you absolutely have to? But there's something about those films that resonate with us. It's like, God damn, we want to be like that and be able to do that. And that's a big reason why a lot of us took the martial arts. But again, if you're in that situation, obviously don't cry. But, for the safety of your own life, man, it's not going to be like the movie, unfortunately.
Guys come to me and they go, well, how should I act? Like when I've got guys who I train, how should I act? And I say, why are you acting? You're like, you have to act a certain way when a woman disrespects you. If a woman disrespects me, I haven't got to act shit because I'm pissed off for real. I'll never talk to her again for real. Like, there's no act. Like, when you talk to me like I'm a dickhead, fine, I'll never reply to you again. And then she'll lose her mind because she's never had a guy ignore her. But to me, it's not an act. They're coming along. What do I do here? What do I do there? You need to become the kind of person who doesn't take disrespect from females. Why are you going to take disrespect from people? Why are you going to have a woman live in your house? And if someone breaks into the house, you have to go downstairs and face an attacker who could have a fucking machine gun. You have to go down there as a man to protect her. But when you ask her for a cup of coffee, she's going to give you attitude. And you're going to accept that shit. You're going to sit there and go, oh, well, she's had a long day. I don't give a fuck how long your day is.
That's actually pretty funny, and what I think the main takeaway with that is basically you got to set certain standards, and depending on how high your standards are, you will either let people disrespect you or you won't take that shit and call them out on it. So basically, you got to have high standards in your life, otherwise you will probably have somebody that cheats on you, disrespects you, etc. People that walk over you. So, and again, going back to this whole world of these kind of movies that made a lot of us who we are. We took up working out to get physically stronger. We took up martial arts to basically take care of ourselves and for personal development and all that other stuff. And I don't see how there could be any person who's basically took up those activities and improved their life, either physically, mentally, and or spiritually, who doesn't have higher standards. Because at the end of the day, you have to have high standards for yourself, and then you expect that in return from other people. So, he's obviously a lot more rough and blunt about it, but it makes perfect sense to me, and that's why you should take care of yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and that if you have high standards for yourself, you're gonna expect people to treat you a certain way, which you should be respected, right? But not unless you respect yourself.
Ask for coffee. I pay for this house. I'll risk my life to keep you alive. If you don't want to make me a cup of coffee, that's perfectly fine. Pack a fucking bag. Get out. I've had that exact situation happen to me, and girls go to me, you're fucking crazy. You're crazy. I'm like, bitch, get the fuck out. You're crazy. You're the most crazy. And they'll leave, and then they'll be texting me for fucking months. The crazy man. Then they want the crazy man back.
Then they want the crazy back, yeah.
I'll make the coffee. I'm sorry. I just didn't like the way you said it, your tone. Bitch, I talk to you in any tone I fucking want. It's my house. And that's not an act. It's not about being an act. It's just who I am as a person. I'm not a mean person. I'm a nice guy. But there's boundaries and limits, and I have my view of the world, and you comply to my view of the world, or you get replaced.
Do you ever have to apologize, make amends to women for things you've done or said?
No, because I will never apologize because I don't make mistakes. Everything I do is conscious. So even if I do something you don't like.
How do you know that?
Okay, so this guy, like, he obviously, everyone's talking about him because he just says ridiculous ass shit. Now, enough of it makes sense, but this guy's such a narcissist, right? Like, everybody makes mistakes, and I think you need to own up to it and admit, like, okay, I made a mistake. Like, look, this guy, for example, he's a ex-kickboxing champion, right? And I forget what his record is. It's something like 60-something wins, 9 losses, I think. So he's made mistakes, probably in a lot of those wins, but definitely those losses. Like, he could have done different things. He's made mistakes. So he can't even, like, see that, yeah, he makes mistakes even in a profession that he's very successful at. So how the hell would he not make mistakes in real life? No one's mastered and perfected life. We're just trying to get better as we get older and wiser. I mean, that's one of the few benefits that come with aging. Hopefully you'll be better at this game of life. In a lot of ways, it is a game, but the problem is I think a lot of people get stuck in their ways, and if they become narcissistic, then they can't really get better because they think they mastered the game and they don't make any mistakes. So this I definitely disagree with, but it gets people talking, and that's probably his point, really.
How do you know that everything you do is conscious?
Because I know exactly what I'm doing.
How do you know that?
Okay, give me an example. Okay, so when I say that,
how can
See, I like that guy. That guy's pressing him, kind of putting him in the corner, man. I think this is one of the fights he'll lose, like if it was a kickboxing match, for example.
can you know that? How can any of us know that we're perfectly conscious?
There's no way I've done anything in a relationship and was like, oops, shouldn't have done that, ever. Yes, I did it. Yes, I knew I was going to do it. Yes, that was my intention. Yes, I did it. I'm sorry it's hurt your feelings, but I did it because I wanted to do it. So I'm not going to pretend I didn't want to do it. And I really do think that in relationships, especially with women, because I get this all the time from men, because I have a whole bunch of guys who cannot believe, like me and my long-term girlfriends, and they see me posting all these other girls. They're like, surely your girl's sleeping with other men too. I'm like, no. Oh, but she sees you cheat. I'm like, so?
See, the problem is not really with him. I don't like advocating cheating on a mate. The problem is not really with him. It's with his girlfriends. Again, going back to the whole standards thing, they have lower standards. There's a lot of women that won't put up with that shit. You cheat on her, she's done. And she should be, honestly. Like, she should be if it's like a long-term committed relationship. So the problem, it's not so much with him. I mean, he is who he is, and at least he's honest about it. It's more the women he's dating. If he met like the perfect woman and she drew the line in the sand and had the standards, then he will probably not necessarily cheat if he really found the right one because he doesn't want to lose her, right? So anyway, I think the problem is more with those women that he's dating and the standards that they keep.
But because there's a whole level of cowardice to lying about things. I think that's what annoys women the most. So I'll give an example. If I have a girlfriend and I go out on a night out and I fuck someone, and then she catches me, or finds a text message, and I'm like, oh, I don't know who she is. Oh, no, it wasn't me. It was my friend. I lie, and then she catches me again, and she knows I definitely did it. Now I've just come across the pussy. But if she goes, what's this? Got drunk, fucked some girl, don't remember her name. I'm really sorry about it. If you want to leave, leave. But obviously I love you. She doesn't matter, so it's up to you. Boom. Like, there's a whole degree of, I really believe part of them respects you for that. The part of them are like, at least he didn't lie. Like, they respect how honest and brutal you are about it. So I don't.
Again, like, it's definitely an interesting way to look at things, but a relationship, for most people, it's almost like you have exclusive fucking rights to that person and only that person. So it's actually kind of an interesting, almost, I don't want to say like business relationship, but it's like, you know, like if you look at video games, there are certain like studios that have exclusive partnerships and they only release games on the Nintendo. It's kind of like that. And the people who have like, you know, the PlayStation are pissed off because they want that game. But, you know, so it's very similar. The way I look at it is like, even if you want to sleep with other women, if you put yourself in like your girlfriend or your wife's shoes and just picture them sleeping with another guy, it's so disgusting and it would anger you so much and destroy the relationship, and you probably beat the shit out of that other guy, right? Even though she had a lot to do with it too. But, you know, you're a real man, you never even think about hitting a woman. So you want to beat the shit out of that guy. You break up with the girl, and it really sucked for your life. So why wouldn't she? If you met the right woman, she should have high standards and hold you accountable. So you should not want to do whatever short-term gratification you might want in the moment. So again, that goes with self-control, which he talks about. So he's kind of, in a way, you almost think like hypocritical, right?
Apologize for anything, even if I do shit they don't like, because I did it on purpose. So why am I'm not sorry. So I'm not going to lie. So I know I did it. I genuinely believe I'm a good person.
Yeah.
I don't rob grandmas. I don't steal from nobody. I don't hurt nobody. I genuinely believe I'm a good person. And the world has become so skewed now. If you're a man who believes in himself and has honor and stands up for what he believes in, you're viewed as bad. People think I'm a bad person. I don't really know why. I believe in what I believe in. I live to my own principles. I don't really hurt nobody. Well, but somehow I'm evil.
Is it painful that people don't see that about you, that you're a good man?
No.
Doesn't bother you?
No, it genuinely doesn't bother me.
I think in general he is actually a good guy and he's living authentic. At least it seems like it. But again, I don't really agree with his relationship type stuff, you know? And some guys think they're like, oh, I'm so cool, you know, I'm a player and I'm badass and I'm sleeping with all these women. It's like, I don't know, man. If you're married, I think what's honorable is being committed to that relationship and having loyalty. Loyalty is an honorable trait. So, you know, like a lot of these guys think it's so cool. I guarantee you they feel very empty inside. You know, they're not really getting anything meaningful out of it, and they probably feel bad about themselves, especially if they know if their partner found out that they would hurt them. Like if you actually care about the person, you're gonna care about your partner's feelings, right?
So a lot of people say they don't care what other people think, and that's a lie. Everyone cares what other people think, because if you didn't, you wouldn't brush your hair, you wouldn't wear clothes, you would nothing. Like if you really didn't care what other people think, your whole life would be a fun.
I agree to that a certain point where, of course, everybody cares what people think, but I don't brush my hair because I care what other people think. If I'm at home by myself, I'm not even going to go out for the day, I'll still brush my hair just because I feel better about myself. So I care what I think, and if nobody else sees me on a certain day, so I kind of disagree with him to some extent, but I get the point that he's trying to make. Like, look, we all care because I believe that the concept's called the looking glass self. Like, you see yourself how you think other people see you. And, you know, you could take yourself back to middle school or high school. You know if you were the popular kid. You know if you were the nerd. You know if you were the loner, because that's how other people seen you. And then you kind of see yourself as that, and you just kind of like, you know, I don't know if I want to say play your role, but a lot of people act that role. Like, everybody knows who the loner is, and the loner knows, okay, people think I'm a loner, then I'm a loner, and, you know, you look and dress and act a certain way.
So we all want to have some kind of social standing. I want, and I've always wanted people to see me as successful and intelligent. And I have now reached a point where those two things are impossible to deny. If anything else you think about beyond those things, I don't care. Oh yeah, he's smart and he's rich, but as soon as you say but, I don't give a fuck. I've done my job. Most niceness is complete garbage anyway. It's fake. Most nice people are fake. If you show me a nice person, I see a snake. If I meet a person who's nice to everyone, oh hi, oh hi, oh hi, I don't, you know they're full of shit.
I think he's a little bitter, and I think he's a little jaded. I think there are some generally nice people that, you know, they will actually donate their time and help out a homeless shelter, and they'll do it without anybody knowing. They're not doing it for like virtue signaling and posting on Instagram, hey, look at me, I'm a great person, I'm feeding this homeless guy soup. You know, they'll generally do it out of the goodness of their own heart, but also because they get something out of it too. I think generally people do like to help each other, but when you try to make it like, you know, oh, look how great I am and show it off to the world, then that's when it becomes insincere. But if some people are just like nice in general and cordial, and I don't think they're snakes. Now they might want something, like everybody like is probably trying to maneuver, and some people may very well be nice because they know in the end that it's more likely that other people like them. So that's just like a byproduct of it though. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like who wants to be an asshole? Because you know no one's ever going to want to deal with you, or maybe if there's an opportunity if they can help you in some way, they're not going to want to deal with you. So I think being nice is not being a snake, but I think you do know in the long term it could lead to like building real, genuine, sincere relationships, and you should always start off on a good note. So I think he's a little off on that.
I don't like everybody. Nobody likes everybody. You know, so there's a degree of integrity and honesty that comes with me being dislikable. And that means the people who do like me at least sit there and go, you know what, Tate, like Trump, says what he means what he says. So I don't want to be viewed as nice.
What I do like about that, and this is why I'll even engage some of the comments, for example, and even some of the trolls, it's like, look, I don't really give a shit if people dislike me, but I think most people just, if somebody doesn't like you, you want them to dislike you for the right reasons, not based on some assumption, not something that they take out of context or don't really understand. Like, as long as they understand a little bit and dislike you for the right reasons, then that's a great thing. But if they dislike you for the wrong reasons, then that's where it's kind of unfair. And I think, you know, sometimes I'll clarify certain positions based on that.
Because that's a whole bunch of garbage anyway. So I don't give a fuck if you don't think I'm nice. I know I'm a good person. I know I don't go out of my way to harm anyone. I know I've got a good heart. I know I've done well with people around me. I've never robbed, stolen, never done any of those things. So, yeah, and if that translates across, good, because it's true. So it should.
Don't sit there and like go back to my book and go, what did I write about that?
Exactly. It's who you are.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. It has to become who you are, because if it's not who you are, you can only fake for so long until someone calls your bluff and you get checked. If you fake that you don't give a shit and then she walks out the door and you actually give a shit, game's up. And it doesn't matter how good you are with women. I've had women who I've told to fuck off and they've never texted me again and I've lost them. You got to be prepared to lose to win.
Yep. That's
you know, like I use chess a lot because I'm a chess
spinning
player.
plates.
Yep. An analogy. I've had loads of guys.
Yeah, I knew he was going to go with the chess analogy. That's beautiful. You got to be prepared to lose to win. Sometimes you got to make those moves, those risky moves, right? Risk reward. It's a correlation there. Bigger the risk, the bigger the potential reward.
Come to me and they tell me their sob story by email and they're like, what should I do? I'm like, leave her. Like, oh, but I love her. I was like, in the situation you're in, the only chance you have of victory is it's like a queen sacrifice in chess. Maybe it'll all go wrong. Maybe it'll all go right. But if you don't do the queen sacrifice, you're going to sit there and it's going to be ground down and slowly pressured down and lose the game. You're going to lose the game and time's running out. So you better do something drastic now. She's talking to you like a dickhead, walk out the fucking door. Maybe you can shock her into compliance. But if you don't shock her into compliance, then it was always over. If you leaving is not enough to make her talk to you nicely, how long is she going to sit there until she sucks a new dick? Right. Like, are those few weeks really that much more important? Like, but people just ain't got the balls. They're not prepared to take the risk. I've lost loads of girls doing that shit. But the ones who stick around are absolutely and utterly compliant. And that's how you got to be. And this is another reason why I talk about how important it is to have numbers as a guy. Lots of guys are like, well, what if I just want one girlfriend? I was like, if you want one girlfriend, you better go fuck 20 chicks. And then you're going to end up with one good girlfriend. The world we live in now, like, I'm not saying you can't train any girl, but I'm saying some blueprints are better than others. So you need to go out there and you got to run the game a bit to find one that isn't a complete mess to begin with.
Of course. Like, of course that's common sense. Like, who's just going to, like... I mean, okay, so I guess some people marry their high school sweetheart, and maybe they did find the right one right out the gate, you know? But, of course, people have to date, and they kind of figure out what they like and what they don't like. And if you meet the right one, that's where I'm kind of circling back to what I was going for. If you meet the right one, the last thing you would ever do or think about would be to cheat on them. Because you don't want to lose that, because you've gone through, like, the other 20, and then you found the one there. You're like, oh, I can't lose this one. I will do what I need to do. I will respect her. I will be loyal to her. I will be the good man. And again, going with standards, having the right partner makes you have higher standards for yourself, just because you know you got to be the kind of guy that can keep her, and you want to be like this great guy, right, for her. So there's a lot of things I agree with him about, and then there's things where he just throws it out the window. It's like, well, then I just fucked another girl, and, you know, even though I have a girlfriend, it's like, what the hell, dude? Like, if you have a girlfriend, hopefully you have filtered through 20, 30 women to find this one that is going to be your girlfriend. I just don't see why you wouldn't stay committed to that, man. So again, I'm not anti-player, but I think it's a damn shame if you cheat on the right one.
Like, you're going to pick something. If you're going to fall in love with the first girl you bang, she might have a whole host of issues. Why are you dealing with that shit for? You know, like, you want to build a race car. You want to start with a Ferrari. You don't want to start with a fucking pedal bike. What's the point? So, like, also having the game and being able to have access to lots of females is ultra important, even if you have the goal of being the trad con, one man, one woman. Even if that's your goal, you still need to have access to a whole bunch of chicks, or you're not going to have a good selection. This is the world we live in now. So I've had guys email me and say, I don't want to be a player, Tate. I want to be a good man. I'm like, well, you better be a player first. You better be a player first. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. You're gonna double down on the first chick you bang.
So, it's starting to make sense with what he says now. Maybe with what he was saying earlier, like, maybe, I don't know if I took it out of context, but it sounds like he kind of found the right one and still bangs other chicks anyway, so.
I'm joining the Marines in the USA. What do you think? I think you're a fool. You're a fool. You're going to go die for what? Biden? I'm trying to protect American freedom. Yeah, you're going to protect the freedom of those people in Nebraska by going over to Yemen and bombing some 13-year-old farmers. Great job.
That's one thing that always bugged me. Like, I grew up a military brat. I respect the military. Like, these are men and women literally putting their lives up for what we have, and a lot of people in this country take it for granted. So my whole issue with the military, why I never joined and why I could see why other people may not want to. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to for various reasons, but my whole issue with it is that there's so many people in this country that take it for granted. I mean, hell, people even like burn the flag. Like, how disgusting is that? So just the thought of me dying for them, it's like, no, thank you. Don't sign me up. These people take that shit for granted. I ain't gonna die for their stupid asses.
Stupid. You ain't protecting nothing but profits for companies that don't care about you, that'll force you to take injections which you don't even want. You're a fool to defend any of these globalist systems. You should only protect yourself and your boys. You should be in the war room. That's what you should be doing. Fighting for the war room. At least you get rich. I fought for myself, became a world champion, got some money. Why are you going to fight for America? You're not going to get any money. Get your leg blown off. Walk around with one leg, Mr. Limpy. Saying, well, at least I served my country and I'm proud. And you're Mr. Limpy, G. For what? For Biden? He doesn't care about you. Don't be stupid. Don't be dumb. Limpathon. Limp your ass out of my chat.
Well, with that said, thank God for you men and women who join the military and help protect the country. Again, I come from a military family. My grandfather, my own father, Air Force, Army, all kinds of family in the Navy, just all armed forces. Grew up in an Army brat. I'm very thankful. I understand the sacrifices, and I'm glad people still join the military. So don't take his advice on that, right? Otherwise, we're just going to be sitting ducks here. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this Andrew Tate guy.